What's up, everybody? I'm going to do a quick showcase on what I've been working on for the last 2.5 years. So what I've got here is 7 different health systems and 3 different damage protocols, all of which are intercompatible with each other, can all be used together. And for this demonstration, I'm going to start with the highest tier, because I think that's what most people are here to see, and then I'm going to go back down to the bottom tier and work my way back up from there. But so this one is the advanced modular, and what this is this is a kind of a limb based setup where you can damage each part individually, but not only can you damage each limb individually, you can also do the same with the armor. The armor also has its own sections. Likewise, this is not just a bunch of components on here. You can actually keep it in what I call collections, which is a bunch of health modules all together. So it's kind of a neat system that I think is pretty advanced. By the way, everything you see here in every single health system, all of this is fully networked and works in both listen and dedicated server, or you can play it in a single player environment. We're going to do a quick, we're going to run through all this real quick. If you want, you can pause and read these boards as I'm going to try and stop and give you a good view of them as I'm going. But basic rundown is that this one is a kind of a limb based setup, so you can obviously shoot independent limbs, and they all have their own health values. Some of these are marked critical, some of these are not. So for example, the arm, I can break the arm, break the hands. It's not going to kill the character. It'll tell your actor, it'll send you an event that tells you that these have been broken, but it's not actually going to do anything for you. But some of these that are marked critical, like the chest and the head, both of those will kill your character immediately. Some of these have criticality channels. So for example, these legs, I can break one leg, I can break the other leg, but it's only when I break both of these, it'll also kill him. And that's entirely up for you to control. You can set any limb to be however you want. But also I want to stress also that it does not have to be a human. You can create your own limb sets. So for example, this tank only has 5 limbs, and obviously it's a tank and not a human. These characters over here, both of these are using the original kit from that guy. I just have a little display widget so you can see them. What this here is showcasing is the limb maps. So for this one, the way I'm figuring out what health component you're hitting, I'm getting the name of the object you hit, I check it against the map, and that map directs it back to the health component. And that's how, if you want to, you can assign the same health unit to multiple different actors. And so both of these will function the same, even though they're different. Oh, let me give you a flash up on the board if you want to see it real quick. This one doesn't really say anything. And then I'll flash up these real quick. This one's explaining criticality. Criticality is what I already explained to you a second ago. It's just showing how you can shoot the head or the legs and break it. This also works for equipment. Equipment is all the armor and things that you're wearing. So for example, this energy shield, and obviously it's going to regenerate. I can break it all the way. The energy shield's gone. I can shoot through it. But when the energy shield comes back, you can see that it's going to keep coming back. But if I shoot this core module, it'll break the entire piece of equipment, and it won't come back. There's going to be more explanation on equipment. I feel like this one's pretty self-explanatory. All the equipment has its own health value per object that you hit. So for example, this guy's got front and back armor, and they both have their own health values. Once the armor's broken, you start to do damage to the body. You can get as crazy as you want with this. Like, you have him with a lot of health values. Also, you can detect for damage however you want. I'm line tracing here, but it does directly pull exactly what's being hit. So I can shoot past his armor and hit that leg. You don't have to shoot through the armor in order to damage what's underneath it. You just have to tell the system what you're actually hitting. Also, here's a good view of how this is working under the system. So this is made up of multiple collections. Let me remove a few collections. You can see that the pants are one kit. They each have their own health values. And I can remove it, put it back, and it keeps its values. This is set up so that you can take this off and put it in an inventory, and then you can actually give it to another character if you wanted to. I don't have a empty character to give it to at the moment, but I'll show you in a little bit. These collections you'll see here, so there's medieval lower, left arm, right arm, and the helmet. These are going to correspond to the units that are kept in the actual equipment health stats. So these are the actual components, these are the collections. Whenever you take away the collection, all the components go with it, and it'll put them back in. Let's see here. Also, if you want, you're not restricted to having to keep like a health system for every single unit. So like this is the same armor from the first display, and this is one solid piece. I can shoot any part of it, and it will, like, there's multiple collision meshes that lead back to this one piece of armor, and the system does support that. It's using basically a very similar equipment map, same way the limbs are being detected, and you can set that up on a per equipment basis. So in here, this is going to show off equipment binding. So it's basically your ability to remove and equip armor. So you can take full sets and move them. You can damage them a little, take them, move them. They keep their values. I can take individual pieces. I can mix and match. Doesn't matter. And of course, they all, you break it, you give it to someone else, it's still broken. I can kill him. I can still take armor off his body and give it to somebody else. Another cool thing actually too, even when he's on the ground, you can continue to damage the armor. So I like to feel like the system's pretty in-depth. There's more to go over in the damage protocols. So this system is using advanced and complex damage. So let me switch over to the SAS because this one actually explains the damage. So I'll get back to those in a second. So advanced damage, if you want to read this, advanced damage is basically going to manage penetration, resistance types. It's got component charts, so you can determine how the damage is going to be sorted out based on the type of damage it actually does. You can do full penetration damage, partial penetration, break penetration, blunt damage. There's ricochet if you want to support it. And all this is going to affect how the damage is actually passed out. If I go back to this one, let me go all the way, or this guy's actually a good example. So let's say for him, he's got this face shield, and due to the way the damage is being passed around, if I shoot him with this, I'm set to pistol right now, that's the stock item. The pistol doesn't have the penetration to break through the shield, so I have to actually break the face shield before I can shoot him in the head and kill him. But if I switch to something like a DMR, this gun has enough penetration to blow right through and kill him in one shot. Now, the armor's a little harder. The armor's going to protect you from the DMR, but it's not going to protect you that good. So that's there, so you can dial this in however you would want to. Another thing with resistances, like this energy shield over here. This energy shield's actually taking reduced damage from this ballistic weapon. So I'm hitting it with 20, but I know it knocks off 20%, so it's really only taking 16 damage. But if you switch over to, say, an energy weapon, it's going to take extra damage. It's going to go a little faster. I also have a neat little weapon here, the EMP, which just completely pops it. But it don't do anything to a live target, but it breaks shields immediately. Likewise, say ballistic armor, you can set it up to take more or less damage from different types. So this has actually got a reduction in damage from energy weapons. This will be a little slower to break, as opposed to using a ballistic weapon will break it faster. Complex damage. I'll jump into complex damage. Complex damage is going to be combining multiple damage types. So for example, heated bolt, this is going to do 20 regular damage, and then it's also going to do some heat damage on top of that, so it'll do some extra damage to flesh. Probably not as much to shields. I have a modification of the EMP weapon from earlier. This one's an EMP dart. So it's like, imagine like a little object that doesn't really do much damage. I think it only does 5 damage, but it'll immediately pop shields. So you can give like a physical presence to a item like that. So you have an energy weapon, but you want it to have a small physical damage. It can do both. Let's see here. What else? Am I missing anything in this room? I don't think I am. I'll show off a little bit of the stress test. So this is the heaviest system in here. This one's actually going to run a little slower. This runs just fine if, say, you're hitting it with like a shotgun, and I don't see any slowdown. You can see the frames in the bottom corner there. My stress test is going to hit it for like 1,000 rounds a second, and this one's going to make the frames drop a little, but it seems like it runs pretty good. I haven't had any serious trouble out of it. This system, well, I like to say it's fairly performant. If you abuse it and overuse these damage events, you will kind of slow down the game. You won't notice this as much with some of the simpler health systems, but this one is the heaviest. I think that's it for this one. I think we're going to jump back to the beginning here. Actually, we might jump back to SA. So this one's the advanced module. This one's just a single health component, but it's still using the same damage profile that the advanced modular is using. By the way, you can also see it's got the regen target. If you shoot this, it'll come back up to a target of 100, which is a target I set. You can control those settings in your regen settings. Pretty much everything except for the simple health kit's going to have regen on every single health component. You can set that up as you want. Here's a example of a layered health module. This is actually the layered module. And you can see I can shoot the shields and break through the armor, start breaking his body down. If I don't kill him, you'll see the health will come back and the shields will come back to full strength, but the body's only going to come up to a target. That's just settings that I chose because I like them. And we've already done the damage. So this is going to be penetration. So you can actually pick something like a sniper. I've actually set this up for penetration. So, oh, that's not. Let me give it a few extra damage. Yeah, there you go. So you jack up the damage a little and you can contribute damage to multiple people. So let me reset these targets real quick. So with this demonstration's here to show, this one's going to kind of show off the penetration that advanced damage is offering you. So all of this is built into the modular one that I was showing beforehand, but in the advanced kit you can also kind of use these on objects to simulate penetration. So let me get down to a more reasonable weapon like pistol. So this one's got a penetration resistance of 10, and so it's not going to block this shot. you see that we're not getting a clean 20 damage on the other side, and that's because some of that damage is being absorbed by the wood, but for the most part, a lot of it's not passing through. Looks like we're passing 16 damage. If I do something a little bit thinner, like say this cardboard example, a lot more damage. Actually, the full 20 passes through, even though the some damage is stayed for the cardboard. That's something you can control with the material charts, so you can determine how you want damage to pass out. You don't have to stick to dividing it up into percentages. You can keep 100% for one and still send 100% on to the next, or you can keep 200%. You can set up your own damage multipliers that way. Thicker examples, say this one is 30 penetration resistance. This bullet's not going to make it through. I'm going to need something a little stronger like a DMR, and then I can still penetrate it and do damage. But then something really thick is not quite going to make it through. Actually, this has a partial penetration. That's what that actually was. So partial penetration is a slight chance that you can set up per material to break through randomly. So we see we're not getting any, and then I think, was that damage? Oh, there's got some. See, periodically you'll get some, and every single type of damage has its own charts, so you can say that full penetration, more damage might go through, and a partial penetration might only let through a little bit less damage, but it's all controlled in the data tables. Over here we have a stronger example of, say, something like concrete. This is actually set up that it never absorbs any damage no matter what, so I can set this to some ridiculous numbers. I can set the penetration way up, but none of this will ever penetrate. Well, it will penetrate, but it won't do damage. So let's say I've got it set to 100 damage and ridiculous penetration. I can still shoot through him, but it won't do any damage to the concrete. Just because it's set up that way. This one's just explaining the layered module a little bit more. Layered module lets you have any number of health modules. So this one's a little ridiculous. This one has 10 just default health, and I would need to break through every single one of them in order to kill him. And this one's not detecting where you hit. You can detect it yourself, and you can input what component you hit if you wish to, but by default, any shot anywhere is going through his stats in order, top to bottom. And it works for, of course, you got energy shield example. Oops, forgot that gun's cranked up a little. So yeah, of course that'll regen on its own. Oh, actually that's a good example there. See how I didn't break the shields, but I did damage to the body? Because we have a ridiculous penetration, so we're breaking through the shields. We're going to jump back to simple. We're going to work our way back up from there, because that was all the advanced stuff. This one we're going to get back down to something a little bit more basic. This one, the SHSS, this is designed to be as lightweight as possible. This one, if you do 20 damage, it's literally subtracting 20 damage. It's not very complicated. It's not something you couldn't do on your own. But if you want something cheap and affordable, it's already networked for you. It's already built up. It's just nice plug and play package. Over here is the hit detect. This is just like an all-in-one package to tell you what you hit. And so I'm using that for, say, an example like this car here. So I can just shoot out the lights, can shoot out the glass. All of this is being run on hit detect. All of this is networked. You can shoot the tires out. It's just kind of neat. Makes it a little bit simpler, so you don't have to do the networking on your own. And over here, I think it's just being used on an individual basis to trigger these braking. Again, nothing groundbreaking. This is not hard to do from the beginning. I think I wrote both of these health modules in a week, the detect and the simple. But they are kind of cool. Detect is also working on a threshold, system, so it's detecting the simple damage that you're putting in. Say this jumbo mug has a higher threshold. I would need higher damage in order to break it. And simple damage is about what you would expect it to be. It's just simple damage. It's measuring what you do. You can assign it to different characters the same way you can the other health systems. It's cheap, it's affordable. Let me respawn him up real quick and run stress test on him, and I don't see any frame drops whatsoever. It's stuttering a little, it bounces around a little, but it's really, really stable. This one is still pretty useful even if you're running advanced damage, because what you can do with this one, you can put it on small items and treat it like a durability, or if you just have enemies and you need them to be simple even though you want your character to be complicated, you can use this to save performance. We're going to jump up to the general package. General package is still using simple damage, except now you have the basic. This is the first module that you get regeneration added on, and then you get the general mount module, which is going to be 3 layers for you to set up however you want. So you've really got a shield layer, an armor, and a flesh layer, but again, you can set them up however you want. And there's the explanation on regen tools. Regen tools is also set up. It's really just a function library, so you can actually add regen tools to anything else that you might want to work on. It's kind of a neat little setup. It's a pain to network, but it runs pretty good once you get it set up right. Here's the explanation on general. General is pretty self-explanatory too. It's just 3 layers. Also, the regen module also supports degeneration, so you can set it to automatically decrease health. That one also works with targets, so you don't have to set it to run to 0. You can have it run them down to 20% health and keep them there. Also shows you that he dies when his flesh hits 0, so it doesn't matter the shields, the armor, those are still there. You can still do damage to them, but he's already dead. I think that's actually pretty much it. You've already seen the advanced and layered module, and then that brings us back up to the modular bundle. This demonstration should be live probably maybe within a week of me posting this video, so hopefully if y'all like this, give it a try, check it out. I haven't quite determined a price point for most of these setups yet, but I'm thinking that Simple's probably going to come in cheap at like $15, and Modular's probably going to come in a little on the heavy side, probably about 160, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Not quite certain yet, but definitely give it a try. I'm really proud to showcase all this. I think I've done a really good job on this. But yeah, see you, have a good one.